Okay, so here we are in our n8n workflow. It's a very simple workflow. So as you can see, we got the schedule trigger and the click to test trigger. We're just going to click this bottom one here. And what that's going to do is it's going to pull in information from a Google Sheets, research it, and then generate a prompt, which is going to create a video with that prompt. And then after we've done this waiting step, we're going to get the video and append the new URL to the Google Sheet. So while that's waiting, I'm just going to show you the exact information that we're going for. So as you can see, I have Bible stories in this Google Sheet, which are going to be my next video ideas. And the whole point of this is to input a very short reference, put it into my to-do list as either done or to do, and then we are going to output a video URL with the actual video file for us to watch. So as you can see, I have these two as example data, showing that done status, which isn't going to be the one that the AI pulls in. What it's actually going to pull in is this Noah's Ark story here, which is going to allow the AI to check it in the to-do list. And then once the video is created and we have our output, we are going to see and be able to watch it in this field right here. Cool, and as you can see, we've just populated that field here, and we have a clickable link, which we can then watch.
They all laughed
results.
when I told them. But God told me to build this ark, and now the rain is pouring.
And that is clearly a result that we can be happy with. So as you can see, I've been clearly playing around with this new Google Veo 3 technology, and I've been able to actually integrate into a backend system automatically, such as n8n, to be able to run this on autopilot. So today I'm going to be showing you this exact system, which really is a simple system, but very powerful for you to be aware of in the coming months. And as always, the resources that I use to make this have been templated and available to you in the description for free. I'm trying to keep this video as efficient as possible, so let's dive straight in. Okay, so obviously starting off with the triggers, we have the click to start trigger, which is the one that we obviously just used, but I also have a schedule trigger, which although it isn't exactly set up, this would be the ideal way that you would set this up to run automatically so that you kind of don't have to look over this automation every time you want it to run. And essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at this Google Sheet node and searching for the status field that says to do. So when we come back here, I just want to show you that we have now everything is done. But if I were to set this to do, this would be the filter in which we would be searching for the latest result of the to do. And with the example that I just ran, we had this final row here, so Noah's Ark being the story of the Bible, which is what we feed into the LLM steps to come. So once we've done that, we have a open router, which is running off the back of a Perplexity step. So if you don't know, open router is an API through which to access multiple other APIs. And I do that just so I don't have to make a custom API request to Perplexity. And then we have this system prompt here, which is very simple. You can pause and have a look at it if you want, but it's pretty much searching up more about the context of the story. And then we are feeding in a user message with the actual story for it that it is searching, which is the result of the Google Sheets node here. Then once we've done that, we have another open router. But in this case, what we're doing over here is we are getting an Anthropic model instead of the Perplexity one. And the reason why I did that is because I think Claude inherently has better writing skills than ChatGPT. And once we've done that, you can see here that I have a, pretty basic prompt explaining how I'd like the prompt to be like, which is where I say, act as an expert writing assistant who has a knack for creating LLM system prompts. And then I say, generate the prompts for an AI video generator about Bible stories. Your output should include a number of important components. And then I say to this, think step by step. So to extract the 2 to 3 most important parts of the story, then convert that information as though it were being told by the main character in a selfie or blog-like way, which is pretty relevant in what we're doing and the viral videos that we're seeing on social media. And then I say to incorporate these in a 3 to 4 sentence output prompt. And just, to be very specific and emphasize the prompt that the video must be indistinguishable from real life, just to give it that realistic feel to it. And then I just say, make sure that this is always as specific as possible, with some notes here that you can pause and just have a look at as well. But it's a pretty basic prompt, and that's what we're going to be using in our actual request. One thing that I will touch on here is that I say to have a single string with this sign for line breaks. The reason why I did that is because this is the information that we're going to be feeding in the request. So if we have a really long prompt with line breaks in between, it actually breaks the JSON and we aren't able to make the proper request to create the video. And you can see I've pinned the data here, and I'll explain why in a second. But what we're doing here is we're making an API request to replicate. Now in replicate, you need to do a couple things to get started. It's quite easy. So firstly, you need to set up your billing, and it is you are billed on usage per month. So you go to replicate.com/account/billing to set that up. You need to log in using your GitHub, and then secondly, you just need to go to the Google Vio side of it to look at the documentation and actually look at the specific request they need to make. So I would click on HTTP here, and then you have this example request from which you can copy over here and then paste within n8n by just pasting it right here. And that's exactly what I did. And then everything else is just getting your API keys, which can be found clicking on your profile and then API tokens over there, which is where you can create one. So once you've done that and you've set up your billing, you're able to make requests. And this is what the end result of the HTTP request looks like in n8n. So we have this URL endpoint here. And then we create a credential for us to authenticate our replicate account. So I click this header auth here. And then what you can do here is you can create the new credential. And then you just type in authorization. For replicate, you need to check the documentation. But as you can see here, it asks you to do a bearer space and then your API token. So that's exactly what you do by, typing bearer and then pasting in your API key once you've done that. And this here is why I pinned the output of the request, just so we can see, exactly what the prompt ended up being. In the end, the Claude actually didn't include any breaks at all. It was just one single, long line to make sure that it didn't break the JSON, which was good. As you can see down here, I put in this aspect ratio for us to have a horizontal kind of view and format to the video. And this isn't required. I just put this in to kind of show you what you're able to do with this as well. And much similarly, if I wanted to post this on social media, I could just go 9:16 to do the opposite, if it were Instagram or TikTok or something like that. So that's just showing you a bit of what's kind of possible and some of the things that you can play around with this tool. And then if we scroll all the way down to this outputs, we get a cancel URL and a get URL. And this exact URL is going to be the one that we use to fetch the data and fetch the results of our request here. And once we've done this wait time here, which I put in for 45 seconds, we can then go to our get vid request here. And as you can see, we are mapping the result of the post request that we originally make, a couple nodes back. And we just map that dynamically because each URL is going to be different for the different requests that we are making. Once again, I referenced the credential that we've made on replicate. And other than that, that's all that I need to do. I've pinned the data here for you to check that. Once again, we are able to see our inputs. As you can see, these are the exact inputs. We get some log data, and then the output is going to be the actual URL that we then feed into our Google Sheet. But before I show you that, one other field that we have to look at is the status field here. Because once we try to get the video, we need to check if it's actually been succeeded in being completed or it's still being generated by the AI. And this is what we are judging on in this if statement here. So in this if node, we are checking if that status from before, so you can see that I've pinned the data so we can actually see the results coming in here. In this case, the succeeded status is true. And because of that, it goes into this Google Sheet here. But if it was false, then we'd wait another 45 seconds to then check it again. And this check would then be judged again on whether or not it has been successfully created. And then finally, when it's ready to go, we go back into our Google Sheet. We reference the same things, but this time we are updating a Google Sheet rather than getting information from it. And we know which ones to actually map based on the original Google Sheet run that we have way back in the automation. So way back here, we get a row number. So once we see what row number we have to make the automation for, we can then re-reference that result into the ones that we have to update with the result of the URL. So this JSON.output here is the result of the URL that I just showed you before. And we are referencing the correct row by mapping it into the Google Sheets that we ran at the very beginning of the automation. And then by doing so, we can actually change this to done. which changes the field here to done as well. So as mentioned before, you can take this and download it using the blueprint that I've left available for you. Beware of your actual usage because the pricing really is quite high at this early stage of the technology. But other than that, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.